Thanks for listening to the Kojima Frequency. If you're enjoying the show and want to help support it, make sure to check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/KojimaFreak.
Yeah, I'm not looking for the live service experience. I just want to play a damn video game.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Fingers.
Yo, it's ApacheSmash.
Hey everyone, this is DaysAhead.
And I'm Nitroid. You're listening to the Kojima Frequency.
It's an interesting situation because I feel like all of us have collectively had a pretty decent week in gaming. But if you looked at the headlines, you would think that it was like an apocalypse, which I guess in some ways it is, but...
Only if you care about AAA.
Exactly.
Yeah. It all depends on what you're playing and what you're paying attention to.
I've been having a great time.
Which, I mean, I just feel bad for everybody getting laid off right now, which is apparently everybody.
Yeah.
So that's rough. I know, like, Microsoft shutting down, how many different studios?
There's two big ones, Tango and what was it? Arcane.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tango, man, that is such a dumb move. My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody's going to talk it to death at this point that, it's like no matter what you do, you can win awards and, be a great game and be really highly acclaimed by everybody. But just at the end of the day, they're looking at these numbers and not seeing what they want to see, even if, it's like define success there, it's hard unless you're just pulling in money consistently every day.
You can't just be successful. You have to be successful enough for the NBAs. Or at least whatever the fuck their criteria is.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you let, when you're bought out, and that's a choice they make. And I'm sure there are reasons why they do it if they think it's the only way they can survive, if they're just not making enough. But, there's a scale problem in this industry right now. And everybody's talking about it. And, the only place that seems to be doing well is the indie space. And even that's a cutthroat market.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to get attention.
Yeah. Oversaturated for sure. But there's definitely a lot of the best stuff is happening in that sector for sure. I mean, I'm like regretting my PS5 purchase at this point, there's still cool stuff coming out, on PC, but it's just I don't know, just the modern AAA stuff is just not doing it. If we were just talking about Rebirth earlier and it was just like, ugh. I'm glad I'm done with that.
I enjoyed it, but it was, again, I know I've said this before, but it was exhausting.
Yeah.
It is an exhausting game to go through, and I just wanted my life back after that.
It's so long that I have the PS5 and the game, and I just haven't started it.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who shies away from putting many hours into a game, but I don't know. It seems too long.
The way that you've been playing the Yakuza series, I think if you just kind of stick to the main story, you'll just have a pretty all right time. If you start doing side shit, you don't need any of it. It's fine. Just.
Well, with a game like that though, you do kind of have to grind a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe not grind so much as do the supplemental stuff so that you can have a fighting edge.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
I've heard it's 50 hours on the main path.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Pal of mine 100% did it and said it was 80 hours.
It feels so divorced from the old style of RPG,
Yeah.
That, I don't know, it doesn't feel like the same thing anymore. Games kind of don't have... This is a weird thing to say, and I'm going to try and muddle through it, but it seems like games don't have genres in the same way that they used to. Everything just is sort of an amorphous distortion of the same thing. Am I making sense?
What, open world walkie-talkie?
Yeah, and your combat mechanics.
I'm trying my best not to sound like old woman, yelling at Cloud, but I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, FF7 is a fucking map janitor game now. It's like, god damn it.
Oh my god, we literally are old people yelling at Cloud.
Yeah.
It sucks that Final Fantasy VII is that now though. It's like, all right, let me go. It's like I'm playing Assassin's Creed where I literally have to go to a scout tower to see everything that's around, and then I go do everything, and it's just I don't know. It's
Old games felt like old movies where they were organic, and you get the sense that on some level it's stream of consciousness and how these were made. And the modern stuff is so rigidly structured
yeah.
that you don't get any humanity or surprise out of it.
It's funny that you mentioned Assassin's Creed because I was really excited about not I wouldn't say excited, but I was keenly interested in that new character and the two new characters in the Japanese Assassin's Creed that's coming out. And then I remembered it's an Assassin's Creed game. Like I'm gonna get bored doing the open world shit within like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Sorry, Yasuke, if I'm pronouncing that right. You seem cool, but I don't know if you can carry an Assassin's Creed game for me.
I've played a grand total of 4 Assassin's Creed games. I don't know why I keep trying. I've hated it every time. I get bored in an hour.
Yeah, I'm always like, all right, Assassin's Creed. Then you kind of get there. You're literally just combing the map, and then at the end they start talking about aliens, and everybody starts glowing, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like that's the part I really don't like when the story just kind of shifts on you at the end of every game. You're like, where'd this come from? It's jammed in.
It was clever once.
Nah, fuck that. When you get to the end of Assassin's Creed 1 and Desmond can use Altair's powers. Oh my god, it's so good. And you see all the fucking writing on the wall, and you're like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, that it was clever once.
But then it's just like glowing alien statues and shit at the end of every other one. And you're like, all right, what's happening here? I was supposed to pick up on something.
I only played the first 2.
Yeah, no, the first one was tight. Yeah, when you're Desmond and like running around in the sweatshirt.
I did like how you did fight the clergy like fist to fist, mano y mano at the end of the second one. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, it did suck for their second there. They had the whole like online requirement, and everybody was like, "Oh, well, this game is like dead on arrival." Like if this is the same situation as shit. What was that pirate game that just came out recently and was just awful and did really bad?
The fact that we don't even know the title, like
God, what?
I just noticed the game that they called the quadruple.
That's what I was
title?
about to say. That's exactly what I was about to say.
Fuck, I can't find anything.
Skull Bones.
That's it. Yeah, I was about to say it's not Sea of Thieves, but Skull and Bones. Yeah, I couldn't even get past.
I almost said Sea of Stars, but no, that's a good game.
Yeah, that's a good game. I could not get past the start screen though without having PS Plus. Not just like access to online, which is that's kind of like, all right, cool, I'll get that. But if you have to have PS Plus to get on, to play the game at all, that's quite the barrier, I think.
It's funny we complain occasionally, and I don't want to suggest this is a negative because I think it's a rightful complaint. But when it comes to like game preservation and game ownership, we talk about how digital purchases sort of overtaking physical media is a big problem. But the other problem is that when you've got a lot of live service games, you don't own those. Even if you buy them, if there is a live service attached to it, a login system, anything, the second one of those linchpins falls out, you've got a brick. You've got a nice paperweight.
I mean, what was that game? The Crew that had like a whole situation recently
well,
where
there's
people got like refunds for that because they closed down the game, and it was just like, well, I paid for this, so.
The guy behind Freeman's Mind is trying to, I think, to do a class action lawsuit or something related to this problem.
Yeah, a lot of people are getting involved in that. It may be possible to actually pressure legislators elsewhere, like places like Germany and France.
Yeah, and even games that are preserved, or I guess still existing, quote unquote, there's still those elements of loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, try to play Overwatch 1, even though you purchased a license for it. There are a lot of people who want to, but they can't.
Well, this didn't used to be a problem when you could, set up LANs or your own choice of how, which protocol to use for multiplayer, and people could host custom servers. Like I still play Quake 3 with a couple of buddies every now and then because we can, but you're not going to be able to do that with something like Diablo 4.
Yeah.
That's just the state of things now. And that's not to say that you can't make a live service game. That's not to say that they don't have their place, but it's everything now because they want to get the return. They've got to keep, it can't just be we make a thing and we sell it. No, it's got to keep generating money in perpetuity or it's not worth the effort. But again, that goes back to the growth issue.
I'm seeing a lot of parallels between back in the 2000s when every dev was trying to copy WoW. and get their
Yeah.
like golden goose MMO when they didn't realize sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
I was going to say exactly what you're saying, Dave.
Like people are already committed to whatever, in this case, live service game that they're gonna, do a part-time play job, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And they don't realize, I don't think they realize, they're just how much inherent risk trying to manage such a large project like that is. And that's one of many components that is causing such insustainability in this industry. And it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks to watch.
And there's so many, so many different games to play and only so much time, when you're asking for like metrics of like hours of your day each day to be committed to this game, and it's like you have to pick and choose. So it's like, especially if you got someone invested in something, they're not just going to jump ship to this new game that no one else is playing. They got to get all their other buddies to be playing it too. It's a whole like social aspect of it that they're not really seeing. They're just cranking these things out and watching them crash and burn. It sucks.
I mean, and this is games, and games are generally speaking, even simple games are difficult to make. They're easier than they've ever been, but they're still not simple.
Yeah.
For the most part, if you want to actually make a game and release it commercially. That's a lot. That's a very involved process with a lot of different disciplines. When it comes to like movies and music, there's a lot of skill that goes into that as well. But the gateway to actually making it and putting it out there is got fewer steps to it.
Oh yeah.
And I know, like, I'm sure you can speak to this, but like the music industry, like that is oversaturated.
Oh, it's gotten to the point where like AI is flooding Spotify with like long albums of just like drone stuff, and even like the artists now are submitting vaporwave versions of the tracks and nightcore versions just so that it can match up on TikTok when the people put in the remixed version. It's like they're getting you on these claims and stuff, and there's just so much there that is hogging the revenue from all the independent, artists and stuff, to the point where I think
What little there is.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, more people subscribe, oh, the pot's getting bigger. That's not really how it all works. It's like, oh, we're all getting paid. It's like, well, no, it's still going to be going to like this top percentage up here.
And even they don't make much.
Yeah, no, it's really bad.
I mean, as I understand it, musicians have never really made money from album sales. It's always been the concerts, right?
I mean, album sales is even, that's a whole different discussion than streams. I mean, you're talking
sure, but it's like it's an analog, I
Mhm.
guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I mean, that same problem is sort of hitting games too with stuff like Game Pass.
Yeah, where there's so much choice there, and just like, and so much that, and so many people are taking the deal to get on there, but it's still like, is that translating to like, sales after the fact, and is Game Pass growing? I know only time I use it
It's
is when I
not.
get like a free month or whatever. I just canceled my GameFly. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's rough out here.
The stagnation of Game Pass arguably is directly responsible for the studio shutdowns.
I agree.
Because they're not making back a return on the amount that they invested in buying those companies to begin with, and now they're stuck. They've got a giant tab.
Yeah.
At least that seems to be what's going on.
Yeah, because we were saying earlier, we were talking about it, and it was like, for people like us that grew up with those games as they were coming out, it's like we look through that library and we're like, okay, played it, beat that,
Mhm.
beat that. It's like, oh, cool, I can check this little indie thing I've never heard of, and it's like there's a little bit of value there, and for people that didn't grow up with the games, there's a lot, but it's like, for how long?
But they're not going to check it.
Yeah,
it's like, what are the demographics? What do those even look like now? Because, for people like us in our age group who grew up with this stuff, yeah, there's a market for it to a degree if you can get our time and our money, which we are, pretty lacking in for the most part, generationally speaking. But then you look at the younger demographic that has the time and they're off doing completely unrelated stuff.
Yeah, they're not checking out Gears of War 3. Like, I don't know.
No, they don't give a shit about AAA games. They do not. It's our generation that pays attention to that.
Yeah.
Well, kids don't care.
I think that's kind of the position we're all in, where they're checking out like the cool indie stuff that is coming out, or like hitting the backlog and just, checking out what we missed. I mean,
and their market is dwindling as their costs are rising to try and impress that generation more and more and more. And it's just, I don't know what to make of it. The whole thing's a mess, and I can't really get a clear picture of it in my head. I don't know what's going on. I just know that the only good games I've been playing lately have been indie.
yeah.
Like I was saying, we it seems like we had a very copacetic gaming week, and none of it was AAA. It was
Yeah.
emulation, indie, PS2, low polygons, 480p. Just
Yeah.
Inject it into my veins.
Yeah.
Nitroid beat Crow Country today, and that made me so happy.
It's so good. It's so good. I loved every minute of it. And it's not long, but it is worth the price of admission 100%. I'm probably gonna play through it again. It was just very well made, and I enjoyed every moment of it. I don't know what else to say. Like, it's good. It's just good.
Yeah, I'm not sure as far as expectations how much I can say because of spoilers. I want people to get a chance to see it and let it marinate. But yeah, I stayed for the like FF7 meets Resident Evil aesthetics and how in the best way possible derivative it was of those old genres. And
Yeah, in the best way. It really was.
in the best way, yes. And everything about it. It's one of those games where I actually started another playthrough between the time you beat the game this morning and when we started recording, because it's one of those games where like I'd like to see the details that were like foreshadowing or what I missed the first time around.
It's
because
clever. It's a clever game.
It's very clever, and I love Mara's little commentary for things. She's got a lot of personality for looking like
Yeah.
like an FF7 meets Roblox character.
I will not say what it is. I will just say that one of the best story reveals ever in a game that I've seen has to do with a shower.
Yes,
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
And I was like, I had suspected, but like that was very, very clever. It's a lot of very clever moments strung together, and just it was just great. I have zero gripes with the game other than I wish there was more of it.
I know they're coming out with like a hard mode.
They are. There's a roadmap coming out for like a soundtrack release and a hard mode, and I think something else. So I'm looking forward to trying that.
I definitely want to say called it. I haven't played it yet. I haven't played anything for a few days actually. But
You're
that'll
gonna
be
love it, man.
The next game I play. Called it. Knew it was going to be good. And if you want to check out their earlier work, they made a series on Newgrounds years ago in like 2005.
We are old.
Yeah, no, they made a series on Newgrounds. It's called The Decline of Video Games. You should watch it. It's of its time.
Oh
let's
God.
say.
Oh, I'm just sad now.
Let's try to turn this positive, Apache. Thanks.
Yeah. You're gonna like the puzzles. Sorry, go ahead and finish.
I was gonna say I love the demo, but yeah, the guys who made it are the Super Flash Bros. For anyone who remembers them.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Yeah.
It's the same. Oh
yeah,
my
it's the
gosh.
same guys.
That's amazing.
I love that they were such a huge part of my life, like growing up
Holy
as
crap.
a young teen. Like they were really cool, really important to me, and they're coming out in 2024 with an absolute banger video game. Love to see that.
Seriously. And I was gonna say that, before, the puzzles in this are just so nicely balanced between not too hard that you have to like know Shakespeare to solve it, but not too easy that like you get that. Yeah. But not too easy that it's like the answer is on a piece of paper that you find. Like you've actually got to stop and think just the right amount about it to solve them. It's and I haven't had that since like the Resident Evil, like the early Resident Evil days. So it was very nice.
Oh, dude, they did like Detective Grimoire and Metal Gear Mayhem and Super Smash
Yeah.
Bros. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's blowing my mind learning this, by the way.
God, I spent so much time on Newgrounds back then, so I had to sit there and like just get a visual reminder of it. And I was like, oh yeah, this shit, man.
Wow. That's awesome.
2002.
Holy crap.
Yeah, they've been around.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that it was those guys.
And that's not even the only big indie release that was this past week?
Nope.
Yeah. It seemed like a bunch came out this week. There was some on Game Pass that was coming out the Little Kitty Big City. That was something I'm not sure when if that just came out or if that just hit Game Pass.
I think it just came out
and you-
because everybody like.
Yeah.
I just saw it on the storefront, and then I saw somebody stream it, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna stream it." And it's like, it's more of an entitled goose game with some verticality to it, and I kind of love it.
Titled cat game.
I was like, it's definitely less Stray, and definitely, yeah, just untitled cat game for sure.
Yeah, we picked it up and my wife beat it. It's just cute. It's nice. I haven't beaten it yet, but I played a little bit of it because we got it and my wife beat it and she really enjoyed it too. So I'm looking forward to going through that. She said she accidentally beat it, which is really funny because it's so open-ended in how you can do things. that
Yeah.
It just sort of encourages you to explore,
Mhm.
but you don't have to.
I kind of like managed to get to the end accidentally as well, so I can see where she came from. But you're more than they let you jump right back into it, so I kind of like
Yeah,
that
that's what she
free flowing
said.
gameplay loop for a game like that. So
There was that another Crab's Treasure game that came out too. That was like a Souls-like in Bikini Bottom, pretty much, and it's got some banging music.
Don't tell me too much about it because I've had at least 2 or 3 people now recommend that to me as the next indie game I need to try.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you like the Souls-like stuff, I mean, it's definitely you know.
I have never beaten a single Souls-like game, and I feel terrible about that. I've been told by friends who are big Souls fans that I need to play them in release order, like the From Software games.
So start
Or I'm
with
going to
another
miss-
Crab's Treasure.
Right? No. Or I'm gonna miss out on the development of mechanics because in a way, even though they're not sequels, they sort of respond to the meta that develops out of the mechanics for the previous game.
Mm-hmm.
Like if this was popular, well then that's what we're gonna subvert this next time.
Yeah,
That sort of thing.
that's why you play Metal
Um,
Gear in release order. You don't.
Yeah.
Come
and
on.
Yakuza.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Apache did it right. I've realized the error in my ways.
I was just so surprised that it's as good as it is. I've heard of the game recently, obviously. Like a lot of people talk about Yakuza now, but I don't remember anyone having it when I was a kid. I don't
Me
remember ever
neither.
seeing the game case for it.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
was
remember
obscure.
anyone talking about it. And it's so shocking because according to Metacritic, Yakuza and Yakuza 2 are like the 497th best game on the PlayStation 2. Whereas like after I played them, I thought these are clearly like top 10. But they're 2 examples of a couple of the best titles on PS2. I would have loved these games, when they came out. I would have played the hell out of them.
I said this in an earlier episode, I think, but do you see what I mean? Sort of about how they have a weird, they kind of share DNA with Metal Gear in a way.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I think the main thing I heard people said like, oh, the series is really weird, it's really weird, and it's not. It's a little bit weird in a video game way. Like it's a little bit weird.
It's video game logic. It knows when to stop taking itself seriously and when
Yeah.
to start.
It's a little bit weird, but like when I think of a weird game, I'm not putting Yakuza up there. If anything, they're quite mainstream. They're surprisingly mainstream.
They're just like silly. Like they break the tension. Like, there's those serious, drama parts where you're like, oh no, this is the saddest shit I've ever heard. And all of a sudden it's just, you're in a strip club and they're like, hey, let's play this mini game. And it's this fun thing and just whatever.
Right. The major
That's
narrative
exactly-
beats never go off the rails like the side quests do.
But yeah, I wouldn't call that weird. Yeah, I think weird's the wrong word for it.
That's exactly why it's like Metal Gear, because it relieves the tension
Yeah.
with kind of a bit of silliness in a similar way to MGS1.
That was your big comparison, pretty much. It's just it
Right.
relieves that tension and just gives a little silly energy.
So where are you in the franchise right now?
I'm just right at the end of 5, pretty much. I've been playing 5 for like 30 hours, and I did some messing around, but I've heard the main story is like 30 hours, so I'm probably like 6-7 hours out until the end of 5. I'm playing as Baseball Man. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but if you play the game, you're gonna know who Baseball Man is.
Yeah, so pro tip here, if you're watching somebody play the Yakuza series for the first time, maybe don't spoil the ending in the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. That
I'm so sorry, man.
yeah, it's so weird because like I've seen people do that to Metal Gear streamers for a long time, and it's infuriating because I like to watch people's first playthrough of Metal Gear. I like to watch them do the series for the first time, and I was recently watching someone play Metal Gear Solid, and a person got in the chat, and if I happen to have it up still, I'll read you what they wrote within 5 minutes.
I bet I can guess what it is.
It's like damn pop-up video.
These are the messages in the space of 4 minutes. Her codec is 140.15. It's required to progress the story. I love how David Hayter voices Snake in the first 3 games, even Big Boss. If Snake looks at the girl posted in MGS4, he regains stamina faster. You'll find out why later on. And now we have to ask why people are having heart attacks when he's in close proximity to them.
It's a ghost.
This is 4 minutes of messages.
That's actually worse than I was thinking. Wow, that's really obnoxious.
Yeah, that's real talk. It's fucking terrible.
The funny thing is, it's like someone was like, "Hey, can you stop spoiling the game to this person?" And they're like, "But you can't progress without knowing Meryl's codec." It's like, yeah, but part of the fun is trying to find it in the game and then realizing that you can't find it in the game. It's actually on the CD case. That's like that's your experience of MGS1. That's part of the fun. Is going through that process of fucking working it out. Like, do you not understand that video games aren't a series of someone saying, "Hey, do this, now do this, now do this"? Like, that's not what a video game is.
You can always count on Metal Gear fans to tell you how much they know about Metal Gear.
Yeah. And you'll sometimes get like 2 people who are like full on writing every spoiler, and they'll get into a competition like who is like better at Metal Gear between the 2 people spoiling, and it's just like these people only watch people play Metal Gear for the first time so they can, like, I don't know, feel superior. Fucking weirdos.
I was just about to say, there's like a genre of people, whether it's like those type of Metal Gear fans or conspiracy theorists or whatever the fuck, that just seem to get off, not on necessarily sharing information, but knowing something that you don't.
The Metal Gear trivia is like crack.
I feel like I'm at the point with Metal Gear where every time I learn something new, I forget something. So I'm constantly in a cycle of learning new things because I can't keep all of it in my head.
Yeah, I'm getting there too, but I think it's just age.
I think it's age too. But yeah, the reason you mentioned spoilers obviously is because I was playing Yakuza 4, and I just started, and someone was like, "Yeah, I really hate the twist that," and then spoil like one of the major plot reveals of the game, and
Unbelievable.
at the time it bummed me out because I think it's the first time it's ever happened like that. Like, people don't usually do that in my chat. Like people kept quiet about something in Yakuza 5 for so long because they wanted to see my reaction to it, and they all thought I'd hate it. And then when I got there, I loved it, and it was so fun. Like, that was part of the fun to me. But with Yakuza 4, I'll never know how I actually feel about the game now, and it kind of bothers me because every time I think about that game, I just think about that being spoiled, and then when it happened in the game, it just being kind of dull.
Yeah.
And then I was pissed off, so I did.
Because you knew it was coming, yeah.
That's why, I mean, that's why I hate leaks and shit like that. When people like data mine stuff, there's like, here's the thing. It's like, man, that was gonna
Yeah.
be cool if they rolled that out and you like let it happen, but you had to just blow it. Like, I don't know.
And you know, there are some games that I've been hesitant to play because I've had the twist spoiled for me, you know?
Yeah.
Like Mother 3 is one. And like I just haven't been able to bring myself to play that, even though I really want to.
I mean, that's worth playing still. Yeah.
Because I know the twist.
Yeah.
And I wish I didn't.
I'm sitting here wondering like why the like whole Yakuza like twist isn't like ringing a bell. And then like I pulled up my, you know, I've had the GameFly for like over a decade. So I just typed in like the rental history, like when I rented the Yakuza games. This play order sucks. I started with 3 and then tried 0. I beat 0, and then I played Kiwami. And then I think I rented Kiwami 2 or whatever, and then it was like,
Yeah.
I can't do more Yakuza. And then someone gave me 6, and it's still in the shrink wrap.
Oh, dude, I still have all of them except like I've got you know, I have not played 4 yet, so I've only played, and I know you're gonna yell at me, dude. I know, just I know. I'm stupid and I didn't know any better, but I've played 0, Kiwami 2, and 3. So
Yeah, I just wanted to say I don't want to call anyone stupid, but
no, I know you can call me stupid. I don't care.
like, I know how I felt. Like I don't even think Kiwami is bad. I'm not like some people like, oh, why is Kiwami bad? Why is 0 bad? It's like they're not bad. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
But the idea, I guess the idea that's floating around is like that Yakuza 1 and 2, the originals, are really bad games, and they're not. They're super fucking good. It's so surprising that there's a PS2 game that I haven't played that's good. It's crazy. Like this has never happened before.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was like Kiwami was just like them bringing it to like their modern engines and stuff, you know, just like it was kind of like the modern update on those, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna play those when I get to them.
Yeah, that's like I enjoyed those. I remember 3 being kind of rough, like just playing that on PS3. I was like, I don't really get this.
Well, they also removed a bunch of content from 3, didn't they?
I have no context. I don't know.
When it first came out,
No clue.
You can restore it with mods on Nexus mods.
the HD re-release has it restored, doesn't it?
It has most of it. That's what I was talking about. There's some like tracks missing and a few other things, but for the most part, it's all there. But like I was like consulting Yakuza fans all the way through, like of the best way to play, and the best reason I'll give for playing the originals first is that when you go from 2 to 3, you go from like original 2 to the PC re-release of 3. It feels like such a massive, cool leap, and you're still playing in release order. So the games are still going to keep getting better, and you've already had like this massive jump.
Whereas if you're a chump like me and you start with 0, you're just setting yourself up to go in a weird order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've read the reviews for 3, and it's people who played like the remakes first.
Technically, yeah,
and they hate it.
That's wrong. Technically, I started on 3.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I started on 3 and didn't really care for that, but then played 0 after that and was like, okay, that's not bad.
I went 0, 3, 1, 2. Or 3, 0, 1, 2, yeah.
3 is just like, you have to have a lot of goodwill towards the main character to enjoy 3, and there's no way that you can get that without playing 1 and 2 first.
Yeah, like I felt like I was definitely missing a bunch of context. Or you're sitting there in like was that the one with the orphanage? Is that in the very beginning of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Metal Gear, where you gotta go through it. No, it does sort of, it feels sort of spiritually the same. God. It's nice talking about good games.
Yeah, speaking of good games, we got Animal Well. That just dropped. Have y'all played any of that yet?
Nope.
I bought it, but I haven't started it.
Okay. I don't want to talk about it too much because like the whole thing with this game is like the less you know going in, it's like kind of just, it's cool discovering stuff, and like there's neat little secrets all throughout it. I mean, even if you're playing in windowed mode versus full screen, like there's little things like if you shake the window, like that's as like as much as I want to say. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's as much as I'll say.
Okay, but like just for context, this is the game that's put out by Donkey's publishing label, right?
Yeah.
Which,
when he announced that publishing company, he did a video, right?
Yeah.
And I remember being on the show with you guys and saying, oh, wow, Donkey, what an idiot. He thinks he's just going to release a publishing company. And he's like, oh, there's a twist, guys. I'm only going to publish good games, so I won't make the mistake of other publishers. And I was like, what a fucking idiot. You think people don't try and do that? And then he's just gone and done it. So, like, fair play, Donkey. I wasn't familiar with your game.
Yeah, even Jason Schreier had a tweet where he retweeted an old post he made that was somewhat to that effect of like, yeah, he's just gonna jump into this and not go through everything. Like he's being sardonic about it, but
yeah, it was all programmed by like one guy. I mean, it's Billy Basso. I mean, it's of course Donkey's acting publisher on this, his company Big Mode. So I think he probably, if anything, does have like a good eye for projects that are like, ooh, people will eat this up, and at this point, I guess a publisher is just knowing some guys that.
Well, it's more than that.
Know a few guys that can show your game off to a few more guys. It's. I mean, he's got that network. He's got probably the resources to get the work to the people that know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like a producer role at that point.
Sure. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to think about, right? Because, we can give somebody shit for thinking, oh, just pick good games forehead. But when you I had this discussion with a few friends of mine. When you kind of look at it retrospectively, despite Donkey's humor being like game bad, Death Stranding, walking simulator, or whatever the fuck, like, generally I feel like he has a keen, like, he wouldn't be able to achieve that type of humor if he didn't have a keen eye for kind of what works mechanically, what works technically, even if he may not have sort of I don't know his educational background, even if he might not have the technical finesse of development.
Yeah.
Which can lead to good choices, or at least better choices than the NBA, who's just trying to pump engagement numbers by following the same gameplay tropes that were popular for the past, like, 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like just the qualification of like, oh, I'm a gamer too. I mean, Phil Spencer was a gamer. I mean, we gotta, remember.
Well, that just goes into the whole topic of, you don't have to be an artist, a musician,
exactly.
a director to know what makes a good movie, song, etc. Like,
Sure.
It's almost like the jester is like, the jester kind of knows what's up because he has that keen eye of humor.
Usually, yeah.
He calls it like he sees it. In this case, it's a more productive version, but
hey, good for him. If I want to see more of the success.
We got a fucking good game out of him. I wasn't giving him shit during that episode. At least I don't remember giving him shit.
I think I did.
Yeah, the only thing I'll give him shit for is his Metal Gear Survive review was a disgrace. He didn't even give that game a shot.
Holy shit, this game is bad.
And that was part of, I think, the reason why that game got so much shit. Like, everybody watched the Donkey video and was like, oh yeah, you just stab stuff through a fence. This sucks. And it's just like, oh, that's disappointing, Donkey.
The combat is stiff and joyless, and your character is just pathetic. It takes him an hour to swing a baseball bat, and he dies in 2 hits. Unlike Metal Gear 5, where one mission could play out in 50 different ways, every mission here plays out in one way. Put down a fence and hit zombies with a stick until you win. Every single time.
I think Donkey is so big that if he was bad at this job and he was bad at choosing games to publish, he still has enough of a following where he can shift box copies. He can sell games. He can leverage what he has to sell games. So it's really cool that he's doing it to sell good games.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and support the smaller developers too. I mean, like, if you're in that position, you're gonna be, but
yeah, I mean,
that's what you want to see.
This Billy Basso guy, there is a whole video about, the development of this game.
Could you tell us a little bit about how you made Animal Well? Specifically, which engine did you use to make it?
Well, I made the engine myself.
No, that's not. I thought you did the graphics.
I did that part.
But then who did the music?
That was me.
So you did the engine, the graphics, and the music. Who did the puzzles, though?
The puzzles were me.
So you made this entire video game from scratch by yourself?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Meanwhile, I'm out here. I don't even know how to make pretzels yet.
Well, first, to start with the dough, you're going to need some yeast, some warm water.
No, don't tell me. I'll figure it out for myself. Like an Animal Well.
It's a beautiful game. I mean, like, it's a lot of people are just saying, like, it's a Metroidvania type style, but like, to me, it gives me that vibe if you ever played A Boy and His Blob on NES.
I could never get into that game, but I am familiar with it.
But like that sense of like wonder with that, of like, let me try this with this and see if that works. All right, no, that didn't work. Like, it's kind of got that type of vibe, like where you want to explore and try out different things. I think that's kind of the closest thing I could kind of equate it to. But it's a good time.
So I want to bring this up while we're on the topic of indie games, and because we're very far away from Metal Gear, Kojima, Death Stranding, we're on a different planet right now, but that's okay. But sort of related to that, Antonio, from Merlino, we've had him on before. He's working on a game right now called As Time Surrenders, and I don't know if you've seen this, but it looks pretty interesting.
Oh yeah.
He's basically doing a Ground Zeroes in like a pseudo PS2 quasi PS3 style, and it looks pretty sick.
Yeah, he's got a parametric palette on the done some of the animations and stuff, and yeah, it's looking good.
So I just want to point that out. If you're looking for something Metal Gear like in the indie space, that's he's been kind of working there for a while. So yeah, it's Merlino Games. I'm not paid, I promise. I just like him.
Yeah, I like him too.
But no, yeah, it's I don't know, like indie's the only place that really seems to have any good ideas anymore, whereas everybody else is just trying to do the same thing but bigger, louder, better graphics, more money.
Is it really they only have good ideas, or good ideas being generated at these large developers and then somebody saying, "Oh,
True.
the metrics tell us this is too much of a risk."
True, very true. And I think Hi-Fi Rush is a good example of that.
Fucking tragic, man.
Yeah. I don't what do you even say to something like that? And I've seen people who have wanted to like get careers in game development are looking at this and going, should I even do this with my life? Like I don't.
And that's my biggest concern is where's the incentive for the future other than, oh, I get to work on something really cool. I worry not just of a crash, but like an entire brain drain if we survive this.
Yeah, no, there isn't an incentive because the risk is too high. Everything's collapsing.
Entirely just contracted out work to where you're not guaranteed a gig on the next project on the next with the same IP or anything. It's just per game, if that, even if you make it through that full cycle. Now it's really sad to see
it. While we were prepping for this episode, there were more layoffs at two companies, Fae Farm and Phoenix Labs, the latter of which made Dauntless, which was sort of a Monster Hunter like, if I remember right. But they just had like 100+ people laid off, and they canceled the project they were working on. I mean, this is everywhere. It's just everything's collapsing in this space. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
And how much of it is driven by disinterest or poor games or ballooning costs or just people not having enough money to buy games and market's too saturated? Like, is it just a combination of these things? Like, it's not clear why all of these areas seem to be collapsing simultaneously, even though they're not directly connected.
Isn't that always like the recipe for disaster though? It's not just one or two pieces of shit. It's like an amalgamation of shit.
Yeah.
Right. So that means the market is unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. And it's like we said with Maddie the other episode, it's like it's just going so fast that like it's like the game of the week, and then we're on to the next thing. I mean, even Helldivers now, I've pretty much stopped playing completely. It's like I have no incentive really to get back in there. Like I've got all the items and stuff. I don't even collect any samples when I collect them. I've got it all maxed out. It's just like there's nothing else here for me until they bring in the new like alien race or whatever. Like it's just that game's kind of done for me right now. So
well, on the topic from earlier about AAA games kind of shitting their pants this past couple weeks.
Speaking of shit in their pants,
right? Like how much of the disinterest suddenly in Helldivers is a result of the PSN thing?
Zero. Like that. I mean, for me, I actually that was like during the weekend, where I wasn't checking in on it.
You think that's over exaggerated?
I mean, it's just gamers being pissed off at something that is, really didn't affect a lot of people. It was more like on principle. A lot of people are just like fighting for that, I think, and they bombed the hell out of it on the reviews.
Okay, I will admit I don't know the full story completely, so I really should sit down and research this.
It was basically you had to be linked at the beginning when it rolled out.
I know that.
It was an optional PSN link thing that you could,
and
a lot of people did or didn't do it, and now they were saying that you had to do it going forward.
But the issue was the fact that you can't get a PSN account in certain countries.
Yeah,
you're in violation of terms. If you make one in those countries, you can get banned and basically lose your account.
And I think the game is still unavailable.
Right. It got didn't it get completely cut off from like 100+ countries?
I think so.
That is what I think the controversy is.
That's
not so much the PSN thing. It's that, but it gets conflated with the PSN thing.
Yeah, that it requiring the PSN linkage is an issue because people are outside of the country can't do that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
like a ton of games do that, and it's annoying, but whatever, you don't see the same outrage. It's the fact that it was available in these countries and now it's not, unless you want to break the rules and potentially put your account at risk.
Yeah, because they kind of
That's
like they hid the fact that you had to have it linked, like because they made it
Yeah.
optional at first. And I went ahead and linked it in the beginning, so for me this was like a non-issue completely. But I see how it affects so many more other people. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I was gonna
But of
say,
course, people screaming make the entire thing impossible to follow.
yeah.
I distinctly remember Pat, a previous guest, he was streaming Helldivers before they made it required, and he was trying to get his PSN linked, and they're like, you don't need that, you don't need that. And he made a comment like, well, they're gonna make you need it eventually. And it's like, man.
Damn.
I mean, that's like with all these games, it's like, with Ubisoft and, like you just have to do this weird login thing to get like something or another. And it's that kind of stuff. It's become,
Well, I got like 8 accounts that I never use.
yeah. It's like, oh, I have EA points or Ubisoft points in the next assess. It's like, oh,
They
cool.
need that engagement metric from you so they can.
Yeah.
It's similar to how like no, it's not similar to, it's the exact same thing as like all of the different film and TV studios wanting their own streaming service. And so, we basically now have quasi cable again because of how many there are.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're starting to merge back into one another.
Yeah, package deals. Yeah.
Yeah, which, hey, we reinvented cable that, we spent all these years trying to get away from. Great.
And that's kind of what the games are all coming together. Is just different libraries being sold as packages, and their value is just like it's just devaluing games so much by just throwing all of them on a store like that. It's like
Exactly. There's no value.
if you were to divide that up like per game, what are they worth at that point? Like you're doing games for 4 cents now. It's like, oh, that's great.
Dude, I don't get it. It's like Commerce 101. You've got to increase value while keeping costs as low as practical, and that's how you succeed. And I don't understand why nobody is doing that. It seems like a simple principle to me. I'm clearly not a business major here, but if there's no value in what you're selling, I'm gonna stop buying it.
Yeah.
And I think people they're just counting on people to just keep these things active. And like with the subscription services, like, yeah, even if there's nothing on Netflix, I generally keep the subscription active because I just don't think about it. And I'm sure there's all this passive income that companies like this are just breaking in through subscriptions, sure, but eventually it comes to a breaking point, and I think we're there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm part of the problem here, guys. I gotta stop too.
Yeah, I mean, with like music streams, I mean, you're talking between 0.004 and maybe 0.006 like cents, like per stream.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're getting thousands of plays, and that's equaling $10. It's like, all right, great. It sucks.
I would wager that some of the indie games we've talked about have made more money through direct sales and word of mouth and just good faith among people who have learned about them from friends and through videos and such than some of the AAA games might make through Game Pass.
A Game Pass deal, yeah. I mean, because they are getting like a guarantee, out of that, and like they are getting paid, but I still don't think it's good for the game's long-term health.
Well,
and
Hellblade 2's launching on Game Pass, isn't it?
yeah,
Like that game's dead on arrival.
mm-hmm.
That sucks for people who put even if I'm not into a game, that really sucks for the people who put a ridiculous amount of time and effort into it. That they're basically not going to see an equivalent return for the work that they put in. And that's not to suggest that if they didn't go to Game Pass that they would necessarily have something successful on their hands, but it like robs them of the chance.
I mean, at least wait a bit, like have 6 months of it out in the wild, and then like, okay, now on Game Pass, it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then you get another, like a second wave, but to just blow it all in that first part, it's like people aren't really going to check it out after the fact. I don't know, unless they just completely missed the wave.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same logic as the Steam sales, right? Where we used to, we always say like, if we really don't care about a game, or not care is a bad term, but we all know that something's going to go on Steam sale eventually. It's like that,
right,
but to a larger extent.
Yeah.
I mean, even Death Stranding, both the original and the director's cut are on PS Plus now for free.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that game has clearly hit end of life. They're full into development of DS2. It took a while for it to get there, but it did end up there. That makes sense at the end of life for a game, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, with like the PlayStation Plus stuff, like the way that they were kind of doing that back in the day, I was like, oh yeah, this game, I did miss that a few years back. I will check that out. It was like that was
Right.
kind of and you got to keep, whatever from there on. But Game Pass, it's just this rotating big ass library. I don't know. It's
In fairness to PlayStation Plus, I don't recall like exploiting the shit out of PlayStation Plus promo codes and never paying full price ever for it.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten a promo for PlayStation Plus.
That's another thing about it is like I kind of see where they're coming from a business model perspective, but like the core audience that uses Game Pass, at least from my personal experience, are folks who they know how to game the system to get a subscription for cheap.
yeah.
Right.
They're not making their return on these whales because these whales are not actually putting money in. They're not even whales.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I use that term.
No, I got you. How many months of Game Pass has everyone here gotten for like $1?
Yeah, I was about to say for the rate, I think. Let me see. I got 2 free months. I got one of them for $1, and then one of them like I bought for like $8.99 or $9.99 or whatever, just like for the PC version of Game Pass. And so yeah, I've spent $12 for about 4 months worth of games. That in that time I probably played close to 100 games, if not more. Like,
Yeah.
it was a lot that I checked out and like, just revisited. And there was a lot of stuff that I did play for a good bit. Like I definitely got my value out of it. But even then I'm done with it even now. Like I have an active one going right now from like my laptop when I bought it. It was like, oh, here's a free month. I was like, oh, cool. And it was expiring this month, so I had to use it.
Can I put on my old man pants and suspenders for a minute? I know I wear them a lot.
We used to go to Blockbuster. Go ahead.
Yes, oh no, dude. That kind of relates to what I'm gonna say. Actually,
God damn it.
Yeah, you kind of got me. Not exactly, but it fits in. And this is not a new statement, but part of the value comes from scarcity.
Yes.
When I would only get 1 or 2 or 3 games a year, and that's what I had.
Yep.
Maybe a rental from Blockbuster here or there. There was more, like, it mattered more to me. I cared more about it. I valued it more, and so I tried to get as much out of it as I could. But now, when I literally have 500 games at my fingertips that I can just load, instantly.
And nothing to play. Yeah.
And I get bored in 5 minutes because I have no investment.
Yeah.
And that is sort of that's on me to a degree, but yeah, again, it has sort of devalued the market, like you said. It's games are very devalued now. It's just a dime a dozen, and it takes a lot more to get me into it.
Blockbuster did that shift back in the day because I used to go like every weekend, and you check it out, and it'd be like a 3-day thing, and that was you had your game for 3 days, and then it was late fees on top of that. Cool. But then they switched it to this like, all right, you can check out a game and like hold on to it for a little bit, and like the late fees were out the window, and then you could have like 2 out at a time, and it got crazy, and you could just go in there and be swapping whatever, and then it was just like, oh, okay, cool, I got I can just check out whatever.
I think they even did 3 at a time at one point.
Yeah, they did have 3, and I cleared out their library. I would just go up there and be like, I'll take this, this, and this, and then just play those for a while, and then go back and swap them out as those. They were right up the street, so it was no big thing.
Man, I used to do this thing, just you reminded me. When I was a little kid and Mario RPG came out and I was obsessed with that game, they had like a few copies of it at Blockbuster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my save file was on one, and I couldn't always check it back out. Like I had to return it, and I just couldn't. Like we got to save money. You're not renting it again this time, maybe later. And so I would keep my save file at the bottom of the list.
You
oh my
picked
God.
the third one.
And I would put like I took like a black Sharpie and I put a dot on the inside of the cartridge so that I knew which one it was.
Okay. On the actual cart.
So if I had to return it, then I would know like, okay, this is mine. And thankfully I got through the game without it being deleted.
That is a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
Thank you for sharing that story.
I miss that. I don't have that anymore. Games are just sort of it takes a lot more to really get me invested in a game these days.
Yeah.
It's got to be something real special.
Can't relate. I still have it. I thought I lost it. for a
It'll
while,
happen
but
to
I did.
you.
No, I thought I lost it for a while, but I thought I lost the the ability to get completely engrossed in a game. I thought I lost the ability to like completely like when the world around you disintegrates and you're just completely invested in the game. I genuinely thought I lost that, but I haven't. And it's been
Well, I'm not saying I lost it. I'm saying it's harder for me to do that now because there's less of an incentive for me to really get engrossed if games have such little value now. So it takes something really special to do it. I can still do it, but it's got to be something unique, you know? It can't be anything. Whereas before it could be anything. So I don't know if that's because of me or the games or what.
Did Kiryu remind you of that, Apache?
yeah, he did.
Is that who made you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think part of it is like you were saying, you had less games that you did like you almost had to become more invested in the small amount of games you had, but also the amount of games you played was much smaller too. So
Right.
when you were playing a game, like it could feel like the best game ever to you because you're comparing it to nothing.
Right, you've got no frame of reference.
Yeah, you've got no frame of reference. So yeah, it's certainly harder to find games you love. I just think be willing to give things a try and like really pay attention to what people say are the best games they've ever played on console. Like I ask people all the time, hey, what's the best game on this console? What's your favorite game on this console? You'd be surprised how much is out there that you've never even heard of.
I have a question for you, actually for all of you. When I was young, I didn't really have a concept of this video game is bad, right? I was either just into it or not into it. I wasn't thinking critically about it, right? And I remember it took a while for me to get there, but I remember like the first two games that actually sort of made me stop and go, this is not a good video game. Yeah, it was and I'm sure people are going to disagree with this, but it was the first one that made me go like, this is not a good game. At least for me, was Saga Frontier.
Mm.
And then the next one that really cemented where it got me starting to like actually start thinking critically about this was Devil May Cry 2.
Holy shit. It's
Yeah.
not that bad. It's fine.
terrible,
It's like a
man.
7 out of 10, man. Come on.
I hated it. I hated the hell
For
out
a
of that
Devil
game.
May Cry game, it's not that great, but I get where you're coming from.
And yeah, I know everybody's different, but what was that for each of you?
It was way earlier for me. It was like The Simpsons Bart versus the Space Mutants. That game fucking sucked.
Eat my shorts.
Mine is Buffy the Vampire Slayer Chaos Bleeds.
Damn.
Mine was Blasto. And the Spyro games on the PlayStation 2 generation, which is really ironic because we just circle jerked about how great the PlayStation 2 gen was, but like that was what made me realize nothing lasts forever.
Damn, Blasto. You just wow. Okay.
Space Command Central to Captain Blasto, over.
Blasto here.
You have an urgent message from Admiral Big Shot on your main viewer.
Urgent, huh? Put him through, Command Central.
Blasto, Uranus is in big trouble.
What did I do this time?
This is no time for jokes.
Yeah, that was a deep cut. Wow.
I definitely have not thought about that, and just all of a sudden, just the picture just went like, oh yeah.
I know why it didn't click for me for so long though, and a lot of it was because the older 8 and 16-bit console generation games were very, very difficult, and so in my mind, a game wasn't bad; it was just too hard, And it wasn't until later that I sort of matured a bit and started thinking more about it and going, oh wait, no, it's not that it's too hard; it's that it's poorly made.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was sort of the evolution there. God, Blasto, that's funny.
Yeah, when I say the PS2 is like, because right now I think it's my favorite console of all time. I think it's got the best library.
Same.
Yeah,
Same.
I can't argue with that.
But like, I don't think anyone here is gonna say it's all great or it's all 10 out of 10. There's plenty of shit on there.
Nope.
I mean, I've got other systems that I'll rank higher on it, but it's like undeniably got a ton of like really solid games on it. And like one thing I wanted to go back with the Yakuza series, like, you compared that to like being like an evolution of Shenmue. Like for me, a lot of my like best experiences, like I love the Dreamcast, I love Super Nintendo, PS1's up there, but like I don't know, it seemed like it was taking ideas that were like I had done like a long time ago and just like refining them. That's like what the PS2 era was like, really doing.
Up until that point, all games, were still just people throwing shit at the wall. But now they were still doing that, but now they had more money to explore those ideas that they were experimenting with. And so they could do more with them.
And that was that fine balance between having the money to explore the shit and there not being so much money that they don't want to take a risk.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny to see that documentary on the Xbox thing. They were talking about how they declined on GTA 3 and just being like, yeah, we don't really see this being like a 3D game. We're seeing what you guys are doing in the 2D space, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and pass on that.
Like Blockbuster not buying Netflix when it was offered to them.
Yeah.
God.
It makes me
$1 million.
It makes me wonder how much of this industry, or rather, okay, what I'm talking about right now, this particular example, it makes me wonder how much of Xbox success rid on the fact that in E3, what was it, like 2006 or whatever, Sony put PlayStation 3 out for $600.
Oh, they shit their pants in front of everybody on the PS3.
Yeah.
How much of Xbox's success was from that moment? How much of their fall was from E3? What was it, 2013, 2010, where like it was all about televisions and Connect and shit? And to a greater scope, how much of this industry is success based off of the competitor just shooting itself in the foot?
Well, let me answer that by saying that, look at the PS4 and how the Xbox One was announced.
Yeah.
And how that was almost a complete reversal.
That's what I'm saying. Is like that. I forget. Was it 2013 or I keep saying 2010 in my head, but I just remember like
13.
$600 for the PlayStation 3 was the moment when Xbox could like really get the lead, and then
and 360 blew up.
And E3 2013 was like it's almost like you can track those exact moments when Xbox rose and fell. It's so compelling. I don't know.
If you haven't seen it, there is the documentary. It's called Power On: The Story of Xbox. It's on the Xbox channel. It's like a 6-part documentary with like 40-minute parts. But it is kind of you see them talking about all this stuff from the inside and how they're excited to bring Connect and how that's going to be a big game changer. And then they switch to like, all right, guys, this is going to be really cool. We're going to go out there and like talk about how this is going to be the next evolution in TV. And it's going to be a huge media center. And like, even on the inside,
nobody
they were like,
gave a crap.
This is, well, I mean, and like they knew, they're like, guys, this fucking sucks. So like, there was so many of these internal arguments and, and all this stuff. It's
so
really interesting because I didn't really pay attention to Xbox like I had a regular Xbox. I had a 360.
Yeah, I was a Sony guy
and got a PS3 eventually. But I mean, the latest stuff with Xbox, the Series S and the Xbox One, like I didn't get any of that shit. And it's funny looking back. It's like, yeah, no wonder it was a train wreck.
So I didn't know that that it was that controversial internally too. I guess it's not surprising, but yeah, I didn't know that. I got to watch this.
Dude, yeah, there's a whole thing about how the guy that kind of brought them up with like the original Xbox is your boy from Trespasser. And there's your Jurassic Park mention. We don't have a bingo square for that yet, do we? Fuck.
Where's Brandy? She's not here today. That's okay.
Yeah, she's not here tonight.
We're gonna need No, I'll get that next time.
But no, I mean, yeah, it's really cool. Like the first 2 episodes, it shows that guy, and they're like, yeah, we got this guy from Trespasser to work on it, and he's like one of the head guys behind the first Xbox.
I'm gonna save the Trespasser talk for later, as much as I don't want to, because that game I could talk your ear off about how that was the Half-Life that almost was, in some ways. Sum it up in a single word: Icarus. If you know what that means, great. If you don't, then you should probably read more.
Or play any video game because it constantly gets referenced.
If you can tell me what movie I just quoted, you win 10 points.
Seamus Blackley, I think, is the guy.
Oh, okay. God.
Yeah, he was like one of the people that they, after Trespasser, hired on to the Xbox team, and like they ended up killing it. In a good way, killing it.
And I mean, it's funny too, when you trace the Xbox back, with Peter Moore and the Dreamcast, and how the Xbox was sort of a Dreamcast 2 in some regard.
And there's one part where they go in and they're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy Nintendo, right? And then from there, we're going to...
Isn't that the offer where they like laughed him out or something?
They didn't say that like explicitly, but like they're like, we didn't get past stage 1 at all in negotiations. They were not really interested at all, like what we had to say. Yeah, so, I mean, but just to think that...
Oh, yeah.
They were going to offer value to Nintendo at that point with what they have going on. It's pretty arrogant of them.
This whole industry could burn to the ground, and the last 2 companies still standing are going to be Nintendo and Valve.
Is this the documentary where they showed when that Xbox exec went into Double Fine?
That's the Psychonauts 2 documentary.
Yeah, okay. That's a different doc. This is the one that has that clip with the guy that's like, yeah, we did GTA 3. Like there's like all these games that ended up being awesome on PS2. The Xbox declined, and it was just like, oh my fuck, you guys really dropped the bag.
No, the Psychonauts 2 thing is fucked up for another reason.
History really does repeat itself, because what you're describing reminds me of when Phil Spencer was just like acting like a little baby about Helldivers not being on Xbox in that one interview.
Yeah. I will say, like, fuck all the bad stuff, but him getting nuked in Fallout 76, and then later on people seeing him completing the mission, like that he's like getting his...
Dude, that's
like,
so funny, dude.
He didn't have the ability to send nukes, and now he fucking does. It's like, all right, motherfucker. That's look, that's hilarious. Like, take it all outside of what the situation is. That's so fucking funny to me.
Ultimately, this does, these things do fall on management, but he does strike me as the kind of guy who tends to try to make the best of a bad situation and probably doesn't like it. It's hard telling how much control he has over some of this stuff when it comes to higher financial decisions. Who knows?
Yeah, it does seem like that's what part of the documentary goes into. It's an Xbox channel documentary, so we're the good guys going against the big bad, Bill Gates.
Yeah, exactly. No, the thing about him is, like, I'll say this: when it comes to, he's never struck me as disingenuous. I'm sure he's shrewd, but I don't think he's disingenuous. I don't know. That's just the vibe I get from him. So take it with a grain of salt.
I feel like they're definitely releasing a lot of like just off-target statements that are just like, it's like, that's not what you should be saying right now.
Yeah,
and,
but
they're just...
What can you even do with something like this?
Their PR game sucks right now. That's what I'm saying. It's really kind of a lose situation right now, where it's just like, yeah, these things are getting way too big for us to afford and to sustain. Like, we bought up, they bit off way too much. That's all these acquisitions and stuff. We saw the shit coming a mile away. It's like, oh, that's not gonna last.
Nope.
You can't just inject money into game companies and say, make good game, show return. It's like, that's not how this cycle works. You can't just put all your chips down.
Well, it's the growth problem.
No, you can't hire 9 women and expect a baby to be born in a month.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I've never heard that before. That's good.
I figured I've heard that a lot in software. I'm surprised you haven't heard that, Nitroid.
Oh no, maybe I have. I don't think so. That's really funny. I like that. Oh man, that got me good. Oh jeez. Yeah, I don't know. Everybody seems crazy.
Yeah.
Right now, they need to stop trying to chase perpetual growth, scale down, be sustainable. I don't know why you wouldn't want to just maintain a good ecosystem and just keep the ball rolling so that everybody's comfortable and can make a living, and you put out interesting stuff and like do it in a way that's not going to bankrupt you if one game fails. But when you're beholden to stockholders.
But number gots to go up.
Number gotta go. Yeah, gotta make number big. It's like Final Fantasy. Gotta get our 9s in. Just.
That's the thing. It's really like there's no real differentiation between this when they look at the numbers of like Call of Duty, Apex, like all these ones that are just taking in, everyday purchases from people that are more than the cost of admission of the game. It's like they're going to like, well, why doesn't Helldivers do that? Like, even Helldivers is probably, getting looked at like, well, still, you're not doing Call of Duty. It's someone made a video. It's like when it's like you're trying to like, you're playing baseball and like your dad's watching and you're like, I got 2 home runs. He's like, didn't get 3, did you though? Huh? And you're just like, motherfucker, man.
And then he's like, now you're
and then he
not in the
kicks you
family
out.
anymore.
Yeah, and then he kicks you out and says you're not part of this family anymore. It's like,
And then mom's like, but I just love my boy so much.
and she comes out and protects your dad.
God, yeah. I don't remember what podcast they made that
yeah.
joke in, but it was so funny, man. I saw
Yeah,
the clip
shout
going
out
around.
whoever that was. That was funny.
Like, good joke, man. Yeah, it just breaks my heart, dude. I can't stand watching it happen like this.
I mean, you got poor indie studios out here like Kojima Productions just trying to make it. You know, and you just really hope they do at the end of the day, you know?
This is the other thing, man. It does make me kind of worry for Kojima Productions because, I mean, it seems like Death Stranding did fine.
Are they public? Like, are they, like, I mean, do they have, like...
They are independent, but tied very closely with Sony.
Okay.
At least that's the impression. I cannot say for sure because they're playing it very close to the chest.
So they could, like, lose support from Sony and then just be kind of dropped. Like, you know, it's like they're like a label, almost like a publisher for...
They
not
are
officially, or
they are independent. They are not owned by Sony.
Yeah.
Though it seems like Death Stranding is owned by Sony, which is interesting. At least if the indicate, like, I got to remember what the source was, but it might have even been on their website where the Death Stranding trademark it's trademarked to Sony and not Kojima Productions. Which is interesting.
That's why, you know, like, so they'll get like exclusivity timed, you know, for stuff, and then it can go out.
Not if they own it.
Like it'll always live on PlayStation.
Right, but it may be one of those things where like it went to PC like other Sony games have gone to PC, and it, you know, it's never going to be on Xbox because Sony owns that franchise. At least that
is Death Stranding not on Xbox?
No,
at all. Okay. So it's a PC. Okay. Well, it all mixes together now because it's like if you have an Xbox game, you can play it on your PC and.
Yeah, no, it's on
I don't know.
Steam, Epic Game Store, and PlayStation. That's it.
I've got like 4 copies of it. Yeah, somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, same. And I got that Death Stranding PC case too because it was on discount.
Yeah, the thing looks sick.
Yeah, it's dude, I love it. It's one of the coolest things ever. Yeah, I don't know. I think this has been a little depressing. It's nice to talk about games that we actually care about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping to talk a little more about that and less of the sad stuff, but I think it was a very enlightening discussion nonetheless.
Yeah, at least we have emulation going on strong. God damn it.
On the freaking iPhone now, too. Like, jeez.
Yeah. Good news, bad news with that.
Got RetroArch on the App Store.
It's like we got people recompiling N64 games, and we got
PCSX2's got rollback netcode now.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I read it somewhere, but I've not tested it. So if you want to play some fucking PS2 games,
yes, I do.
I'm down.
This entire episode has basically been that meme that's like, I want smaller games made for less money by people who are paid more, and I'm not kidding. Like, I'm misquoting it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yep. Closing thoughts, anybody?
Play Yakuza.
Play Crow Country.
Play Animal Well.
Go play Jurassic Park Trespasser.